Hey everyone, so Steam is having a summer sale, and here are my recommendations for some of the games that are currently on sale. Some games I recommend more to others, and some are decent games. I played most of these games and had a huge blast playing them, either from the gameplay or having a great story. I tried giving a list that is affordable, but there are some games that have an exception to that rule. I would recommend checking sites that sell Steam keys like Humble Bundle, Green Man Gaming, or GTA, because you might find better deals than what Steam is offering. Now that has been established, let's get a move on. These are the highly recommended games that I recommend to you. To start off, we have Castle Crushers. Castle Crushers is such a fun little party game for you and your friends to enjoy. Even if you don't have friends, like me for example, you could always play the game solo, and regardless, it is still fun. And the story is kind of just silly and goofy, so that's what it's all about. Next, we have Darkwood. Darkwood is such a great top-down horror game that really relies on the atmosphere to make the experience even better, and let alone the survival. And it's a survival game that is really challenging, really challenging, and I would highly recommend you getting it if you're into horror. Next, we have 7 Days to Die, which is a great zombie survival game, and I would recommend it PC. Obviously, I streamed this game way too much, but it is such a great game that there's no really story to it, and it's still in alpha. But I would say the gameplay is so much fun, and the idea of you having to build a base against a horde is such a fun experience for me. Stalker is a good game, but it's kind of like a hit or miss when it comes to everyone, because it's an old game and it is a shooter, but it is a horror and creepy like game, so that's why I really appreciate the game. But there's also it's like $9.99, but if you there's also a deal going on that if you add Dying Light Definitive Edition into it on top of it, it's the first Dying Light game, but it would only be 2021, which is a pretty good price if I do say so myself. And I would recommend Dying Light for sure. Red Dead 2 is such a phenomenal game. Great story. There's a lot of things to do. You go hunt, you go do bounties and all that. And there's obviously multiplayer aspect to it. And then there's also, if you want, there's like the RP servers and all that if you're really interested in that. But I mostly play it for the story, and it's a fantastic experience. The Walking Dead Telltale Definitive Edition, it coming around $19.99. It is a great great Telltale game for sure, and the story is very rich, and I appreciate it. There's like 4 seasons and a mini series onto the edition, if I remember correctly. It is such a great story. I would highly recommend it. It's like more of like a point and click adventure. No, not point and click, but you kind of like make decisions and all that. You move around, which is not really very good gameplay, but it is such a great story that it makes up for it. Now, of course, I gotta put in the list most of the Resident Evil games. I say most, right? They go from either $5 to $20. I recommend all the games except a couple of them. Except like a couple of them. I would not recommend RE0, both Revelations games, 1 and 2, RE Resistance, RE-verse, and Operation Raccoon City. So the reason being why not like those games is because, so for the case of RE0 and Revelations, the Revelations, it was made for a 3DS game, and I heard it's badly ported to Steam, but I'm not sure if that's really the case. But in terms of RE0's case, like the game is utterly like clunky, really clunky, and it's unnecessarily difficult for no reason. And then in terms of Resistance and RE-verse, those are multiplayer games that people it's just basically just dead in the water. It's not really like a fun like multiplayer game. Resistance had a great start, but then it's started to fall off like over the years because there's no more updates to the game whatsoever, and thus the game died. And in Operation Raccoon City, the game doesn't even work. And then finally, Call of Duty Black Ops 3 Zombie Chronicles Edition. So the reason why I recommend a BO3 rather than BO2 or even 1 is because is because BO3 has such a great zombies game. Like the multiplayer, I would avoid multiplayer because I think you could get your IP taken or hacked and all that, and I would avoid the trouble of going through that. The campaign is kind of like but zombies is absolutely god tier. You not you're playing all the I wouldn't say all of them, but you're rather playing the OG maps from BO1 and 2 now into BO3, which is pretty cool. And not only that, but the Steam Workshop for BO3 is phenomenal. There's so many good maps that is available for you to play, and it's just unlimited amount of fun. There's also a couple of maps that are a bit questionable. Next, we have the recommended games. Not really like these are the games that are like I recommend, but like I won't really like push that upon you because these are like okay games to say the least. But they're still good nonetheless. And starting off this list, we have Dead by Daylight. Yes, I know. I hear you booing in the background and all that. But it's a pretty solid game, and it's the only really good asymmetrical game in its category. And I would recommend getting the game. But if you want to get the game, I suggest looking into the Silent Hill bundle, the Resident Evil bundle, or even the Ultimate Edition to help gain more survivors or killers to start off with, so that you could enjoy the game even more. Next is the Devil May Cry HD Collection. It's a pretty good, of course you can never go wrong with Devil May Cry. Great trilogy. It's very old and outdated, but it's still a great hack and slash game to say the least. The Left 4 Dead bundle. It gives you the first and 2 Left 4 Dead games. Although they're pretty stale alone, but the Steam Workshop and the mods for it makes the game 20 times more fun than it needs to be. Next is the Fallout 4 Game of the Year Edition and Fallout New Vegas Ultimate Edition. Now, Fallout 4 and New Vegas is a pretty good game to start off with in the post-apocalyptic survival games, and it gives you all the DLCs for both 4 and New Vegas. New Vegas is kind of outdated, but it's still a great atmosphere to say the least, and the amount of memes from it is fantastic. 4 is a pretty good fun experience, although it gets really stale to start off with because it took me like 20 tries to finally beat the game because of the amount of times I got bored of it. But I finally suckered it up and managed to beat it, and it was a great game to say the least. Next, we have Doom and Doom Eternal. These are great modern Doom games that I would recommend, and the story, although there's no really like story involved with the game, the music and the gameplay just makes the game even more fantastic. Lastly, in the recommended games category, I would suggest The Wolf Among Us by the Telltale games. The story is fantastic. It's another like point and click and make and choose your decisions, and the decisions that you make has consequences in the end. But the story is fantastic. Imagine it, The Wolf Among Us, like Disney with all fairy tales and stuff and detective work, but not Disney because it involved blood and murder and going on, and you have to solve the case, which is pretty cool. And finally, these are the honorable mentions of games that I would recommend, kind of, because some of these games are hidden gems or great games that I enjoy, but you may not enjoy the same way I do. So it's kind of why I put it as honorable mentions. So to start off this list, we have PvZ. If you're gonna get PvZ, I really recommend getting the PopCap Party Pack, which includes Zuma, Chuzzle, Peggle, Bejeweled 3, and PvZ, of course. Mirror's Edge, the Evil Within bundle, and the Evil Within 2, but if you had to choose between 1 or 2, I would say 1. Outlast bundle, The State of Decay, Complete Edition, Project Zomboid, Monstrum, Payday 2, but it's only the base game, doesn't include any DLCs of course. This War of Mine Complete Edition, and The Escapist 1 and 2 Ultimate Edition. If you had to pick between 1 and 2, I would recommend getting 1 because of the Steam support and the Steam Workshop, so you could play. There's unlimited amount of some fun. So you made it all the way to the end, and thank you. If you made it this far, leave a like and drop a sub. And these are games I recommend to you guys to get from the summer sale games. I think it's a pretty solid list. But if you have other games that you recommend from the Steam from the summer sales, please put in the description, not in description, comments, so that other people could also look into the games that you might enjoy, and you know, probably I could enjoy or look into and see if I enjoy it too. But thank you for watching the video, and I'll talk to you later.